Welcome to Family Respite Services video presentation of Building a Full Life, Today, Tomorrow, and Beyond 18. This series is designed to discuss your child's future as you look together down the road and reflect on the hopes and dreams you both may have. This segment is one part of many interesting topics that are presented in the series. As we have provided these workshops, we have found that families are very interested in hearing about the practical steps in the transition process to adult services and funding. When thinking about the future, it is common for families to feel overwhelmed. It can bring up feelings of uncertainty, a sense of loss for the supports and people who may have supported you throughout childhood, and it may also create worry about how your loved one might spend their day when no longer attending school. There are practical steps that can be taken to prepare for this transition. These include applying to Developmental Services Ontario for adult services and funding, along with completing the application for the Ontario Disability Support Program, or ODSP for short. Anytime after the age of 16, a person may complete and submit the DSO intake form, along with the required supporting documents to determine eligibility for adult developmental services. The required documents include a copy of the most recent psychological assessment, along with a copy of the person's Ontario health card. You may also choose to complete and submit a consent form if you would like the information to be shared with a community agency, like Family Respite Services, for example. Once the package is reviewed by the DSO, you will receive a letter that states one of three things. The letter may state that the person is eligible for adult supports, or that a new psychological assessment is required in order to provide additional information, or finally that the person does not meet the eligibility requirements for adult developmental services. Family Respite Services may be able to provide some helpful information if a new assessment is requested or if the youth is not eligible for adult services. Don't hesitate to reach out and discuss this further. If the letter states that your son or daughter is eligible, you simply wait and contact the DSO again when he or she turns 17 and a half. At that time, the DSO will schedule 2 appointments with you in order to complete the required application and assessment package. During these meetings, you will have the opportunity to share your son or daughter's hopes, dreams, needs, and the support requirements that will help to provide a safe and satisfying life and community. These appointments may seem a little intimidating, but the DSO will walk you through the process and will answer any questions that you might have. You will also be asked a series of very specific questions. It can be helpful to know that every person who applies for adult services is asked these same questions. The discussion with the DSO will also explore which of the available adult services you would like to apply for. The DSO will review these services with you. Areas that you may want to consider beforehand include, first, what you hope your son or daughter's future living arrangements might be. Second, whether there is interest in a structured program during the day. Third, whether the youth might benefit from working with a community organization who will assist with planning for a life in community. And finally, if you would like to request consultation services regarding behavioral challenges. It is also important to know that there may be wait lists for each of these programs. One of the other programs that will be discussed with the DSO is the Passport Funding Support Program for adults. Each person who is eligible for adult services will automatically qualify for $5,000 in passport funding. This will be made available at some point after the youth turns 18. If that is all the support that you feel your family member will need, you will submit the initial intake package to the DSO to determine eligibility, but it will not be necessary to complete the further steps of application and assessment. However, most people will benefit from completing this process. Young adults who receive the $5,000 and have completed the assessments with the DSO may qualify for additional passport funding above the initial $5,000. The additional funding will often be placed on a wait list and will be made available at some point in the future. In addition to completing the process with the DSO, your son or daughter may also want to apply for a monthly financial benefit available through the Ontario Disability Support Program, or ODSP. This application is also completed after the youth has turned 17 and a half. If you received a letter from the DSO confirming your child is eligible for adult developmental services, that letter may also be used as documentation to prove eligibility for ODSP. The ODSP application is available either online or a hard copy may be provided by contacting the Ministry of Children, Community and Social Services. After submitting the application, a caseworker will contact you to outline what else may be needed. As the disabilities that qualify for ODSP are wider, a person may still apply for ODSP regardless of whether or not they are eligible through the DSO. However, this will require an approved healthcare professional to fill out the necessary report confirming the person's disability. Although these are two important steps in the transition to adult services, there are other things that you may want to consider. This includes opening a bank account for your child, as an account will be needed for ODSP deposits. If you haven't already looked into opening a Registered Disability Savings Plan, or RDSP, then now may be the time to explore that further. This could be the first step in making some financial plans for your child's future. You should also consider your son or daughter's healthcare professionals. If you've had a pediatrician or other pediatric specialists up to this point, you may want to have a conversation regarding referrals to adult healthcare providers. And finally, some people have difficulty as an adult providing picture identification, particularly if they are not able to obtain a driver's license. There is a provincial identification card available that may be applied for after the age of 16. This card is available through Service Ontario. In summary, after age 16, submit the required documents to the DSO. At 17 and a half, contact the DSO to begin the application and assessment process. In addition, at the same time, complete the application for ODSP. Also consider if your child may benefit from a bank account, look into an RDSP, explore potential adult healthcare professionals, and finally, contact Service Ontario to obtain an Ontario ID card. We hope this information will be helpful as you navigate the changes that will take place as your child approaches 18. We are here to help. Please reach out at any time to ask questions and request additional transition planning information.